Welcome into the High Noon Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. High Noon. All right. I wanted to say that right off the top here because we're changing the name. That's right. The name of the show is done. It happened again this weekend. I've told you this over the course of the last couple of years. I get people to come up to me and they ask me, what's the name of the show? And I tell them the name of the show. It's the High Noon Rant. And they're like, oh, is it like a stoner show at noon? And I'm like, what about me? How long have you known me? You think I'm doing a Spicoli show at noon? What is wrong with you? So we're just going to, from this point forward, and I'll start labeling the show as such, and we're just going to call it the Rant. Okay, welcome to the Rant with me, Pugs Moran. The noon, we could call it the noon rant, but then that limits our ability to shift should we want to shift time slots. We're just going to call it the Rant from here on out. Welcome to the Rant. Welcome to the Rant, Jimmy Smells. Jimmy Smells is in the chat room. Again, comes in waves, these allergy things that I have. We got Jimmy Smells. We got Jeff Ballard. We got Al Gamboa. Peter Lufkin. Leslie C. We got Jen Hernandez. Well, people come in. Let's see here. Who else do we have in the chat room today? Fill in the chat room. It's a little bit slow going here on a Monday. It's interesting. I did something today. I didn't promote the show in the same way that I normally did. I just wanted to see if there was like any kind of a difference because I've been doing it a different way for about a month. So just, bear with us. What is this show? What is the Rant that airs around this time every day, Monday through Friday for 3 years now? The Rant is a rundown of all the day's hot topics, current events, headlines, whatever it is that people are talking about. It's a newscast. It's basically just a newscast with a middle-aged narcissist screaming into a microphone. My hot takes, my point of view, and what is that? What are you in for? Well, those of you who have been along for the ride for the past 3 years, you know what you're in for. But should you happen to be new, here's what it is. I don't do politics, okay? I don't give a shit how you voted. This is not about, Republicans and Democrats. They're both criminals in my mind, okay? We've got a broken system. I don't play the party politics game. We do occasionally talk about issues that are political, but my filter is, and I'm not even a centrist, really. I'm not like in the middle. I'm just like all over the place. So I don't give a shit. Don't bring your carrying water for one corrupt party over the other into this chat room. We just talk like neighbors. We talk like goddamn Americans around here. So that's my filter. That's the filter that you're going to get with my rundown of all the day's hot topics. We do perform the show in 4 quarters segments. First quarter, we call that Antecedently on This Day. We run through some events from history that have helped shape our understanding of this day. Quarter 2 is birthdays. You know what that is. That's easy. Quarter 3, deads. This is fun. We take people who died on this day, we open up their life, and we overturn rocks, if you will, and we decide whether they went to heaven or if they were banished to hell. That's quarter 3. Quarter 4 is where we get into all the hot topics and all that stuff. So quarter 4 is the headlines, hot topics, all that stuff. The show, as I say, it runs typically about 2 hours. I'd say that the intention is for the first 3 quarters to take maybe a half hour, 40 minutes of that. The rest of the show should be all hot topics, current events, and all that kind of stuff. The show is also performed by yours truly in a stream of consciousness style. That is a style where there are no breaks, no stops, no interruptions, it's just me and whatever thought I have in my mind in the moment. Boom, I launch it out there. So if you're ready, let's get started with the High Noon Rant for this day, June the 24th. Happy birthday to people born on this day. Yesterday was my mom's birthday. Ugh. Now, I don't mean to say it was my mom's birthday. Yeah, I just mean it's like my kid is on vacation and he knew it's grandma's birthday and he's got sketchy cell reception because he's like in Arkansas. And I just hope he called his grandma. That's all. I don't even know. I'm afraid to find out. I don't even know. Ugh. It's June 24th, year of our Lord, 2024. Did you know that June 24th is the 176th day of the year? There's 190 more of these remaining until New Year's Eve. Hi, Byron. Byron's in the chat room now. Barney's in the chat room. Cam's in the chat room. Here come all the boys. What'd you do this weekend? You guys do anything this weekend? I'll tell you what I did this weekend. I followed the dog around just anticipating the next round of explosive shits. Yeah. Dog had explosive shits all weekend. Why? Because yours truly made some chili from a can that I didn't want to finish, so I just poured it over his dog food. And he ate that whole ball of dog food that was drenched in the chili, and then, it was bad for like the next 36 hours maybe. Yeah, she was, oh, God. She's laying there. She lays there on the floor. I watch TV. She lays there on the floor, and you know it's bad because you hear, like, as loud as I have the TV. You see the TV behind me. It's big TV, big sound. But as loud as it is, you can hear her stomach going. Like after she ate the chili, you can hear her stomach. She's laying on the floor. You hear it going. And I'm like, oh man, are we gonna have to go out for another walk? I just walked you 25 minutes ago. So that was my weekend. Friday night, the kid went on vacation on Saturday. Friday night was supposed to be my weekend. Friday night, had a little dinner. That was nice. That was nice. Have a good vacation. See ya. And now he's on vacation. So that's what we did. Hey, Adam. Adam's here. Adam's in the chat room. What else? I guess that's it. All right, what do you say we get started? No, you know what? First things first. This show, as most of you know, runs on your gratuities and your kindnesses, your tips. You kept it on the air all of these years. Oh, we're getting tired, aren't we? Anyway, thank you to the fine people who are sponsors to this show. People who like this show. They drop a little something every day. I like to award an executive producer title. That executive producer goes to the individual who tipped the most during the previous day's show. That means today's executive producer is the wonderful Tracy D. Thank you so much. Tracy D dropped a little something there on Friday before the show, so I didn't get a chance to see it. But thank you so much, Tracy. Your support is just, what am I supposed to say at this point? Thank you, folks. Thank you, Tracy. She's our executive producer today. Or wait a second. I am so sorry, Tracy. Are you a guy or a girl? Because there's another Tracy who doesn't. Oh, man. I bet girl. I bet girl. And if you're a boy, I don't mean to be mean to you in that way. I should know this. I know Tracy, don't I? Oh, God. Oh, but which one? It's the last name. It's the last name that throws me because I'm like, wait, is that their last name? Because I don't know that I know them by their last name. Okay, moving on. As I said, the show runs in 4 quarters. Oh, wait, what's going on with Byron? Byron says, I played a huge poker tournament for a main event seat in Vegas, finished 7th for less than that. Well, Byron, man, you are a granddad of leisure. Running around playing poker. I wish I could play poker. I'd probably be good at poker. No, I wouldn't. I'm probably too much of a mess to be good at poker. I still say I'd be good at bass fishing. I do. I believe that. I've never been bass fishing. I don't know what the hell that's about, but I've seen it on TV and I've seen pretty much what it's about. And I think I could be great at that. Sitting in a boat, holding a stick for money. Are you kidding me? That's a sport? Hey, at some point, it seems like that just comes down to luck. And I'll tell you, I've been a pretty lucky guy for the most part my whole life. So I think I would do well at bass fishing, but not poker, Byron. I don't know. Byron says he makes 90% of his income from poker. See, that's the guy who's figured out life. He's figured out what it is that makes him happy. That's what's important. Be happy. But then wait a second, Byron. Why you seem so angry? Why you so gripey? Byron's gripey. We all got something. All right, let's go. Let's do the first segment of the show. We call this segment, of course, antecedently on this day. Let's take a look back at history. Things that have helped shape our understanding of this day. On this very day, June the 24th, in the year of our Lord 1374, a sudden outbreak of St. John's dance causes people in the streets of Aachen, Germany, to experience hallucinations and begin to jump and twitch uncontrollably until they collapse from exhaustion. Okay, guys. Do you guys know what St. John's dance is? Okay, it's on this day a sudden outbreak of St. John's dance. The problem is that all of the known outbreaks of this occurred a way long time ago. Like, it's not like, oh my God, we were Christmas shopping at the mall in 1989 and a mass St. John's dance epidemic broke out. I mean, okay. St. John's dance is a malady. They thought it was a disease that came over people, groups at the same time, where they would, you know what, I'm going to click on it. I'm going to explain to you exactly what it is. Let me Google this. Let me see. Let me give you the exact definition of St. John. There it is. St. John's dance, or also known as dancing mania. Dancing mania was a social phenomenon that may have had biological causes. Biological causes, which occurred primarily in mainland Europe between the 14th and 17th centuries. It involves groups of people dancing erratically, sometimes thousands at a time. The mania affected adults and children who danced until allegedly they collapsed from exhaustion, injuries, and sometimes death. One of the first major outbreaks was in Aachen. That's the one we're talking about today. One of the first major outbreaks was in Aachen, Germany, in the Holy Roman Empire. This was back in 1374, and it quickly spread throughout Europe. One particular notable outbreak occurred in Strasbourg in 1518 in Alsace, also in the Holy Roman Empire. This affected thousands of people across 7th century. Okay, well, the several theories proposed about what causes this dancing mania. Several theories proposed ranged from religious cults being behind the processions of people dancing to it is speculated to have been a mass psychogenic illness in which just people started that. These are flash mobs. These are flash mobs that were breaking out in the 1300s. And at the time, there was a medical, this was back in the time when they used leeches for pretty much all surgical procedures. Let's just rip someone open and stuff them with leeches and see what happens. He died? All right. Let's do it again, but this time let's use one less leech. What happened? They died? All right. That was medical science back then. Anyway, that was on this day, antecedently, a mass dancing breakout in Germany. German people, you don't think the German people are being fun and fancy free like that, but I guess sometimes. Antecedently on this day in 1916, Mary Pickford becomes the first female film star to sign $1 million contract. Holy crap! Baseball, wasn't baseball's first $1 million contract Fernando Valenzuela? Wasn't he the first guy? But I think he was the first guy to get $1 million a year, not to have the first $1 million contract. Mary Pickford in 1916, she was an actress that you never heard of. Probably some of you did, but she's not well known. Mary Pickford. Mary Pickford is like the first movie superstar, first movie chick superstar. She wasn't a bombshell either or anything like that. She was just kind of like a normal girl next door. Pretty, because, photogenic, you have to be that for cameras. But just to put it into perspective, in 1916, she got $1 million contract. What is that today? That's about $29-30 million today. That's a lot of money. $30 million contract Mary Pickford signed in 1960. That's essentially what it is. Antecedently on this day in 1922, the American Professional Football Association is renamed the NFL, the National Football League. The NFL was born today. Many stories behind the renaming and all that kind of stuff, but the one that I like best is that George Halas, George Halas knew that their football was big in farm communities and in the rural Midwest and, moving east and all of that. It had begun to spread south, but football began, in those, the colleges in the Northeast and all that kind of stuff. George Halas believed that all of those people were illiterate and that something called the American Professional Football Association had too many big words. So NFL, or National Football League, was decided upon so that it could be more accessible to people who couldn't read, who wanted to go to a game but didn't know what this was. It was too many big giant words next to each other. On this day in 1922, the American Professional Football Association is renamed the NFL, the National Football League. Antecedently, on this day in 1939, Siam gets a rename. Now, here they went the opposite. We talk the NFL, they went simplified. The NFL went from something that was a little more complicated to something easily digestible to the illiterate. Siam went the other way on this day in 1939. Siam, that's a cool name. S-I-A-M, Siam. That's cool. I would like to be from Siam. I don't want to be from Thailand. I told you the other day. Don't go to Thailand. Don't. I don't care. And don't go to Thailand alone. My 45-year-old recently divorced friend just disappeared in Thailand for 2 weeks. No, you never come back from that. You physically come back from the visit to Thailand, but not in your friends' minds. You never come back from that. Don't go to Thailand. Go to Siam. That sounds good. Siam is fine. Siam they should change back to Siam. They really should. Siam does not have the stink of child sexual exploitation. And what else are they known for over there? Like the world's best trans people, right? Don't they have like trans bars? I don't know. I saw the bachelor party. Isn't that where they went? It's all the same over there. Bachelor party. The Hangover. Bachelor party is Tom Hanks, right? Yeah, I'm old. Bachelor party is Tom Hanks. The Hangover, which is essentially the same movie, been saying that for decades. The Hangover is the more modern one. That's what it is. But in The Hangover 2 or something, didn't they go to Thailand? Didn't they go to like one of them bars where the dancers all have penises and boobs? Whatever. I don't know whatever Thailand is known for. It ain't good. Just saying, maybe we switch back to Siam just for commercial purposes. On this day, antecedently in the year 1947, Kenneth Arnold makes the first widely reported UFO sighting near Mount Rainier, Washington. Kenneth Arnold. Now, you know me, I'm a big UFO guy. Kenneth Arnold, I don't trust. He was a politician. He was kind of a shady politician. He was always looking for attention and promotion and anything that he could do to, get his name out there. So I don't know whether this is real or not. Kenneth Arnold has always been a bit sus to me. Not happy birthday, but happy anniversary. On this day, Kenneth Arnold, he was a pilot at the time. He said he saw UFOs, and because he was a pilot, they believed him. And then nothing happened for 70 years. I don't know. We still have questions about UFOs. I don't think he saw anything is my point. But anyway, it was on this day. It's a big moment in UFO world because this started the UFO sighting pandemonium. Hold on, guys. Be right back. I apologize. Well, so much for today's uninterrupted stream of consciousness. I apologize. That was someone came to the door and I had to take care of it. A package was being delivered that needed to be signed, and I knew it was coming and I forgot to mention it, but here we are. Okay. Hold on, I gotta catch my breath now. So I'm just checking out the chat room for a minute here. Oh, did somebody in the chat room say that they went to Thailand? I hope not. Is that what I'm? No. Byron, you ever been to Thailand? Don't go to Thailand, Byron. I don't think Byron wants to. I'm just wondering. I mean, a poker tournament or something, because people have interests that they can camouflage their reason for going to Thailand. Just don't. I don't care what your reason is for going to Thailand. I'm telling you, I'm going to think the absolute worst of you. It's not for sure, but it's always going to be like, well, he did go to Thailand, right? Like the next thing that you do that's weird, I'll be first to the party to go, well, he did go to Thailand, though. All right, antecedently on this day, Kenneth Arnold, right, which a UFO guy, we talked about him. Oh, here we go, 1950. Antecedently on this day in 1950, in South Africa, the Group Area Act is passed, formerly segregating races. This is apartheid. Man, I got to catch my breath. Hold on. Sorry, I had to run downstairs, and then I had to control I had to fight with the dog. I had to pick up the dog. I had to put the dog in the bathroom, close the door, open the door, sign the packet. So I'm a little out of breath. Byron says he did go to Juarez once, but he's never been to Thailand. I've never been to Juarez. I want to do that though. I want to go to one of those skanky border towns. I want to party for like a Friday night. What do you got to do? You got to go to El Paso. How would you do that? You go to El Paso. You get a hotel in El Paso. I ain't staying the night in Mexico after drinking. No. I'm getting back to America. I'm gonna fall asleep in an American bed. But what do? You go there, you get a room in El Paso, and then you go party. You watch donkey stuff. Is that where you go for donkey stuff? I don't want to go. I don't want to see donkey stuff. But I want to people watch. I think that might be fun. Juarez. Where's the place where they kill you and sacrifice you to Satan? Is that Matamoros? Isn't that the bad place you don't want to go? I don't know. Byron says he wouldn't recommend going to Juarez now. Oh, now the dog's going to be nuts. All right, let's see here. Where were we? We're talking about something, apartheid. That's right. I wanted to talk about this. Here's why I want to talk about apartheid, because I just happened to learn a whole bunch about apartheid over the weekend. I watched on Saturday night that HBO Max documentary about Stevie Van Zandt. Stevie Van Zandt, of course, Silvio from The Sopranos, but above and beyond that, very, very highly respected musical personalities, a longtime member of the E Street Band, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member, had his own band for a while. Anyway, it was a very interesting biography about the life of a very interesting man, Stevie Van Zandt. I will say this, however, as big a fan as I am of Stevie Van Zandt, I didn't love the documentary. I thought it was a little boring at times. I thought it was a little boring. And I was bothered. I was bothered when they started talking about Born in the USA, and then they didn't use Born in the USA music. Like they used music that sounded like Born in the USA, which upsets me because you just know that Bruce would have let Stevie Van Zandt use that song but because Bruce sold his catalog, I'm sure that's the deal. So now we got to hear just a replica sounds like Born in the USA while they show the album cover and all that. It was okay. It was fine. It was fine. It was interesting in parts. A little long. That's what I'd say. Some of those 3 hours long. I don't know that Stevie Van Zandt needs 3 hours, but and then you barely talked about the Sopranos. You barely talked about Helsinki. What was that movie? What was the movie he did, or the TV show he did for Netflix where he went over to Sweden? He was whatever it was after The Sopranos. It was a good show. Anyway, one of the things that they focused on was his anti-apartheid activism back in the 1980s. So I had to learn all about apartheid. I knew about apartheid, but I had never really written, I'm going to kill this dog. Hold on. Be right back. Ugh. All right, get in here. Well, perils of doing a live stream from your home studio. It was my mistake. After I came back in here, I locked the dog out. And all she did was cry and scratch at the door until I let her in. Just come here. Come here. Say hi to everybody before I kick you out. All right, come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come here. There she is. All right. This is CeeLo. She's the dog. Okay, you don't show everybody the butt you've been licking. Right here. Look at how wet that is. Can you see how wet that is? Ooh, I don't want to touch it. All right, just go. Jump. All right, good girl. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the dog. Yeah, my milky white thighs and my little green basketball shorts. And, it's funny. I stay milky white. I'll say, okay, here's a little something I can mention. This has always been a thing that I've been so amazed by. Of all the products in the world, and I'm sure there's a lot of good products, but of all the products that legitimately do what they claim, you know what the best is? There's two, actually. But I think the best is sunblock. That explains the milky thighs. I spend a lot of time outside. I'm at the lake all the time, jet skiing and all that kind of stuff. Sunblock really works. Why is it that I just was introduced to sunblock when I was in my late 20s? What was going on with the people who raised me? My Irish. Why did I have to suffer multiple sunburns every goddamn summer? Every summer of my youth, I had multiple sunburns. And you know what the parental advice was? And I shouldn't say parental because I don't know if my mom said this, but the other adults, what you always heard from the adults was, oh no, it's good. Let them get really good and burned early because then it won't hurt later in the summer. I'm like, what? Burnt? Yeah, if you just get burnt first, then you'll tan. Then it'll look great. That was I never wore sunblock. I've been wearing sunblock since my late 20s. I haven't had a sunburn in 20 years. It's amazing how effective sunblock actually works. The other product that really does work, and I'm always amazed by it, Tums. Ladies and gentlemen. Got a little stomach ache, you got a little heartburn, man, you take a Tums, and I'm telling you, right away, it's gone. I mean, it'll come back because Tums isn't like Pepcid or a pill. But in that moment, if you've just got oh, God, that heartburn, you just take a Tum. It'll go away instantly. It's amazing. Sunblock and Tums, man, I'm telling you. I'd buy stock in both of those companies because, though I guess Sunblock isn't a company. I don't know. But they work. They are products that work. All right, apartheid is bad. I didn't want to get into anything heavy, so I started talking about, look at me. Look at this. Isn't this the white man's world? I didn't want to get into the heavy subject of apartheid. So what I did was instead of talking about the brutal oppression of apartheid, I talked about how difficult it is being a white man in the sun. Thank you. The kind of twist you get on this show. Antecedently on this day, in what year? 1957. Oh, Supreme Court case. Let's see what this is. Roth versus the United States Supreme Court rules that obscenity is not protected by the First Amendment. Oh, big ruling. So just so we know, guys, the United States Supreme Court on this day in 1957, they ruled that obscenity is not protected by the First Amendment. And then they pounded their gavels and everybody moved on. And then I was left alone to go, wait a second, how are we defining obscenity exactly? Because that's the real question that needed to be answered. This is a terrible decision. The Supreme Court shouldn't be weighing in on something as vague as the word obscenity. What is obscene to one person isn't obscene to another at all. I mean, I'll give you an example of this. Because of this ruling, it's why in the 90s, when I was a shock jock, when I was a young shock jock, we could have the largest ratings book in the entire market. And we did at the station I was on, The Loop. We could just be absolutely whitewashing the entire market with our brand of in-your-face, shit-talking, borderline shock talk 90s radio, right? We could dominate with that. But if one grandma, in a suburb hears something and writes a letter to the FCC and calls it obscene, we now have to pay a huge check fine. What is obscene? How are you so we have violated community standards because one woman said that she does not like this. Meanwhile, look at the ratings. More people in this town listen to our station than anyone else. Explain that. You can't explain that because there is no definition for obscenity. That would take forever. And that's why it couldn't be done. So it's got to be a case-by-case basis. Here we go. Antecedently on this day in 2013, former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi is found guilty of abusing his power and engaging in underage sex. This is the bunga bunga parties. Remember this guy? This guy was awesome. And he's awesome because I'm not an Italian citizen. If I was an Italian citizen, I would be appalled by the actions of this guy. But he was crazy. Berlusconi was like, first of all, super powerful. At one point, they're like, he's probably the richest man in the world because he was just robbing the whole French government of everything. He went to jail a bunch of times. He's shady. And then this bunga bunga party where he's bringing in underage prostitutes while he's president of France. You guys, this is in the 2000s, okay? This isn't the behavior of somebody in the 1600s. This is, 15 years ago. The president of France is throwing orgies at the French palace with a bunch of underage prostitutes. Known colloquially in his circle, in his court, if you will, as bunga bunga parties. So on this day in 2013, he's found guilty of abusing his power. Antecedently on this day in 2023, I can't believe this has been a year ago. 1 year ago today, this was exciting. We were covering this. This is the strangest story, man. Because now we have 1 year of history. We have a bit of a lens we can look back on. We see how this played out. Let me get a drink because this is crazy. It was 1 year ago today when Yevgeny Prigozhin of the Wagner Group launched an insurrection against Putin, turned his tanks, which were heading to the Ukrainian front, turned his tanks and began rolling them towards Moscow. Now remember, the Wagner Group was the most elite of Putin's fighting forces. It was a private military group funded entirely by Putin and Putin's backers. This was not a state part of the military, but they were Putin's best guys. And the Wagner Group was, it's privatization. We have this in mercenaries, if you will, but massive, very BlackRock. Didn't we used to have BlackRock here? What are they called now? Eric Prince, his organization. We have a version of it. But that's what the Wagner Group was. And the Wagner Group was upset because their actions, being led by Prigozhin, were being countered by the generals who were under Putin. So Prigozhin and his Wagner Group were trying to operate with autonomy. And this was running afoul of the war plans of Putin's generals. So that was the reason for this. They got sideways with each other. Who had more authority? Prigozhin, who was Putin's personal general, or the actual generals of the Russian military, right? That was sort of the problem there. Putin sided with his actual generals. And so Prigozhin, through a hissy fit, turned his tanks around and announced to the world that he was going to take Moscow. Do you remember this? That was 1 year ago today. It was also very exciting. Everybody was talking about this is the end of Putin. This is how Putin falls. This is how Putin goes down. Moscow, because of the war in Ukraine, Moscow is not protected to an extent that they could stave off the Wagner Group if they came in. No way. It was over. And then all of a sudden, Prigozhin announced that, never mind. I changed my mind. Never mind. Changed my mind. And we're like, holy shit. What the hell happened here? And then Putin comes out. He's my friend. He's my buddy. pictures of them splashed across newspapers all around the globe. They're buddies again. They worked out their problems. All right. And then like 6 weeks later, Prigozhin's plane mysteriously crashes. He's dead. Him and all of his top guys. That's the other thing that I don't know is widely known about the crash of Prigozhin's jet. When Prigozhin's jet went down, it was packed with all of his top officers. I mean, at some point, these guys are not stupid men. You don't get to be an officer in any world military, in that close to the top decision makers without having a little something on the ball. I'm not saying you got to be smart, but you got to be a little bit intuitive. They had to have been on that plane going, wait, who chartered this? I didn't know you were coming on board. All these other guys are getting on the plane. Hey, I thought Putin hated you. No, he called me last night. He says we're cool, wants to fly me off. That's probably what was going on the plane. At some point, they must have realized, holy shit, this plane is filled with people Putin hates and has just, surprisingly forgiven all. Started out on this day, the Wagner Group, led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, launches an insurrection against the Russian government. That's who Putin is. You either admire that or you recognize how dangerous that is for us as Americans. Let's move on. The second one is Wanum. They say it's your birthday. They say it's their birthday. We don't know for sure. How can you know? I'm not going to call all of these people's moms and go, is this in fact the day? Born on this day in 1895, dead for a very long time, but born on, oh my God, this dude lived to be 98 years old. Holy crap. You wouldn't think a guy who made his money in the game of punchy face would live to be 98 years old, but that's how old Jack Dempsey was. Born on this day. He was a heavyweight champion. He was like one of the real big superstars of heavyweight boxing. I don't even know if he was good. Dempsey, was he good? And nobody who ever saw Dempsey fight is still alive. Moving on. Happy birthday. Born on this day in 1901, Chuck Taylor. Another example of Dempsey. Ain't nobody remembers Dempsey. Ain't nobody remembers Chuck Taylor. Actually, they do, but they remember him for his shoes. Chuck Taylor shoes, right? Who is Chuck Taylor? Why, he's the original Michael Jordan. I mean, it's a fun way to look at it. It's not exactly the same set of circumstances. But Chuck Taylor was the first breakout superstar of professional basketball. And when I say breakout superstar, it's a very low bar. I mean, professional basketball was not, big in 1920 or whenever it was, then when Chuck Taylor was dominating. But Converse created a shoe for him, and it became the Chuck Taylor All-Star. And talk about a shoe that has stood the test of time. That shoe is so classically cool. I have a couple pairs of Chuck Taylor All-Stars just in a box somewhere. Very cool. Chuck Taylor, born on this day in 1901, American basketball player and salesman. Salesman? What, Converse put him to work? I bet they did. Could you imagine Nike puts Michael Jordan to work? All right, Mike, we're giving you the shoe and we're naming it after you, but now we're going to need you to go around to all the Foot Lockers and convince people to stock your shoe. Born on this day in 1936, probably one of the worst fathers who's ever lived, Robert Downey Sr. That's right. Robert Downey Sr. is Robert Downey Jr.'s father. Robert Downey Jr. loves his dad. And that's wonderful. And I think that's fine because I don't know that Robert Downey Sr. was a intentionally evil, cruel, or non-supportive guy. Don't know that. What I do know is that Robert Downey Jr. was an ass. Or Robert Downey Sr. was an ass. He was a film director. And he was an avant-garde film director. And he was notoriously difficult with everybody, and he was a little bit erratic and a little bit crazy, and he brought his young son, Robert Downey Jr., along with him through his implosion as a name Hollywood director in the 1970s. And I say implosion because Robert Downey Sr. actually had some stripes. He actually was somebody who could get work and could have cobbled together a career. The problem is that he was so difficult and such an ass in the 1970s that eventually his career went completely away. Nobody wanted to work with him. They're like, your movies don't sell. But anyway, throughout this process that his career was going down the tubes, Robert Downey Sr. brought his young son, his his little boy, along with him on all of these film sets, put him in all of his movies, and that is, of course, Robert Downey Jr. One film in particular starred someone who would become a friend of mine, Up the Academy. I don't know if you guys remember the film, the 1980s film. It was kind of in the vein of Animal House, but it was about a bunch of kids at a private school. It's called Up the Academy. That film starred, I want to say, Ralph Macchio. The star of it was my friend Harry Tynowitz, who is now he just battled some health things, but a legendary, iconic Chicago sports radio talker, Harry Tynowitz. But when Harry Tynowitz was 13, 14, 15 years old, he was a star. He was a child star. He was in that movie, Up the Academy, directed by Robert Downey Sr. Robert Downey Jr. was also in that movie. The stuff that Robert Downey Jr., I have been told firsthand, the stuff that Robert Downey Jr. was allowed to do in his father's presence as like a 12-year-old or whatever I don't know how old he was, 15, copious amounts of drugs, drunk every night. Robert Downey Sr., whose birthday it is today, is the reason I believe that Robert Downey Jr. had such a difficult time in his 20s. So screw you, Robert Downey Jr. I know your son loves you, and you're lucky for that. But man, oh man, just from the outside looking in, you were Robert Downey Sr. and Jade Barrymore. Those two. Oh my God. Maybe we can even mix in some Lohan nonsense. But in the history of, Hollywood bad parents, he's up there. Born on this day in 1944. Here's a legend, Jeff Beck. Oh my God. Jeff Beck's version of People Get Ready is absolutely beautiful. Jeff Beck, master guitar player, born on this day in 1944. Jeff Beck is one of these guys. Guitar players. Who's the greatest guitar player of all time? Jimi Hendrix. There's all these programmed responses that come. Eric Clapton. These programmed responses that you just go to. But when you are actually forced to think about who the actual best guitar player, first of all, what an unbelievable. Almost every guitar player that is in a band that is signed to a major label that cuts albums is as good as anyone as you've ever seen in a bar. Let's just talk about the amount of good guitar players. So, I mean, everybody out there can play guitar. But for a guy like Jeff Beck to just know, is Jeff Beck dead? He is. He's dead, right? Yeah, he died last year. Oh my God, look at that. How sad. So for Jeff Beck to even rise up to, being mentioned in the top 10 of most people's lists, that's it. Born on this day in 1944, Jeff Beck. Born on this day in 1947, Mick Fleetwood. I love Mick Fleetwood. I love Fleetwood Mac. I'm sorry. I just there's something about Fleetwood Mac that I like. I just like everything about him. Mick Fleetwood, born on this day in 1947. Born on this day also in 1947, umbilical cousins with Mick Fleetwood. How about RoboCop? Peter Weller. He's got a name. He ain't just RoboCop. He's Peter Weller. Born on this day in 1979, Mindy Kaling. Mindy Kaling from The Office. Mindy Kaling from... I didn't see anything she's ever done after The Office. I got to be honest with you, I don't particularly enjoy Mindy Kaling. I find her character, and that's her character. I bet Mindy Kaling, the person, is a little bit different, but the character that she uses publicly, it's all a variation of, her character on The Office was just a variation of who she is. I don't enjoy it. I find it irritating. It's a little bit too confident, I think little scrappy, confident girl. It doesn't work for me. What are you doing, Doug? The dog. But this is no hate against Mindy Kaling. She's fine. I'm just talking about someone that I really like. I don't really like her. I like her. There you go. I like her. She's fine. Happy birthday. I don't know what I'm doing. Stream of consciousness. Here's somebody that I definitely do like. I remember the first time I saw this person, I might have blurted out, why, that's the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life. And I remember as I watched this person in the show, that she's only well, I don't want to bury the lead here. She's only associated with one show. It's like, but as I watched her in the show, I'm like, oh my God, she's not going to be on this show next season. There's no way she's going to be a movie star. She is going to be huge. And it didn't happen for her. I don't know. I don't know whatever happened to Minka Kelly. You guys remember Minka Kelly? I have no idea. I thought she was the most beautiful woman that I had ever seen in my life. I was like, wow, where did Hollywood get her? Clone Factory. Well, that's true. And didn't she start? Who'd she start dating? Jeter? Didn't she start dating Jeter, and then she never got any film roles? She's got a couple. I'm re-binging Entourage. From time to time, she gets name checked in Entourage. Minka Kelly's going to be there, like at the party. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know whatever happened to Minka Kelly. Happy birthday! Born on this day in 1980. What is she? 40? Oh, Minka Kelly is. Wait. Really? Minka Kelly is 44? Wow. But now we got to see what Minka Kelly looks like, right? Let's see what she's looking like now at 44. We'll do Minka Kelly today. Let's see. Not that we're really going to get today, but yeah, she looks fine. She's all right. I bet here's what she probably did. Remember we talked about Jamie Gertz? The other day. I said Jamie Gertz did it right as a Hollywood actress. Here you go. Here's Jamie Gertz today, or relatively now. So remember what Jamie Gertz did? Jamie Gertz was star in The Lost Boys, and then she was in Less Than Zero, and she had this really great career going in the mid to late 80s as this super sexy git. Like, she was at her hottest. Jamie Gertz, if it was 1989 and you were like a stockbroker on Wall Street, you'd be like, yeah, my girlfriend is Jamie Gertz. And everybody's like, whoa. So that's when she was at her best. And I think Jamie Gertz, she decided, she was like, you know what? I'm just going to marry that guy, that stockbroker, that super rich guy. I'm going to stop acting and I'm going to do this. And a lot of women in Hollywood do that. A lot of women that, have big movie roles and they seem to be really hot in their 20s. And then they just disappeared. And you're like, what happened to them? Well, they married a producer. They married a producer and a director, and they're worth $100 billion. And, that's what Jamie Gertz did. I wonder if Minka Kelly did that. That would have been smart for Minka Kelly to get out of, because you're on a timer when you're an actress. And this is why actresses are so crazy. You're on a timer as an actress. When you are beautiful, you are going to be at your most marketable, and they're going to milk you for everything. But as soon as that beauty begins to dwindle in the eyes of the general public, your worth begins to plummet. Okay. So, you gotta straddle that thing. You got to decide. You're like, man, do I want to grind this out and be a 50-year-old actress in Hollywood? Or do I want to marry, a guy who's got 10 Chevy dealerships in Orange County right now? That's the guy with 10 Chevy dealerships in Orange County is going to give her a life. So yeah, when you watch a old Adam Sandler movie from the 90s and go, whatever happened to that hot chick actress? That's it. She married a director or a producer. I don't know if Minka Kelly did that, but I haven't seen her in anything in forever. Born on this day in 1980, Minka Kelly. Born on this day in 1984, J.J. Redick. J.J. Redick, American basketball player and now coach, right? And J.J., the new coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. They wanted Bobby Hurley, and they got instead they got LeBron's podcast partner. That's fine. Let's see where we go from there. Born on this day in 1984, J.J. Redick. Born on this day in 1986, Solange Knowles. That's Beyonce's retarded little sister. I think the only thing that I know, I'm a middle-aged white man. The only thing that I know about Beyonce's sister, Solange, is that she's got a name that I'm probably mispronouncing. And she got into a fight with Jay-Z in an elevator. That's it. That's all I know. I saw the elevator tape. And she's like kicking at Jay-Z. Born on this day in 1987. The biggest celebrity sportsman in the world, apparently. I don't know. I was out with somebody a couple of weeks back, and they're like, you don't know. He's the biggest in the world. And I'm like, at one time, maybe, but not now. Not now. But anyway, happy birthday, Lionel Messi. He's the biggest in the world. No, he's not. If he's the biggest in the world, he would still be playing in the Premier League. If he's the biggest or wherever, FIFA, he's playing in Miami. He's cashing in. He's at that point of his career now where he's cashing in. Lionel Messi might be one of the greats of all time, but stop acting like he's like LeBron in his prime years. He's not. He's still great. He's still better than all the schlubs we in America march out there because he's freaking Lionel Messi. But this would be like, if instead of Michael Jordan going to the Washington Bullets or Wizards, I guess, excuse me, shows how old I am. Instead of Michael Jordan going to the Washington Wizards after he left the Bulls to end his career, instead of doing that, what if he had gone to France and just kind of dominated French basketball at the that's essentially where Lionel Messi is now. Still great, still the best player in our stupid little third-rate league, but All right, there you go. Those are birthdays. Let's talk about deads. These are Q3. These are people who died. These are people who died. We opened up their life's resume. We decided if they went to heaven or hell. Dead on this day in 1987. Here's a big one. Although I don't remember where I was. This is not, but a pretty big one, pretty big celebrity. I think, I'm just going to go on a limb. I'm saying, I think this was my grandpa's favorite celebrity. So that's why I say a big one, because he was pretty famous in my house growing up. You realize as a kid growing up, the people who are famous in your house, celebrities, when you're a little kid growing up, and maybe it's different now with access to the internet and all that, but back in my age, you were only a celebrity if the grown-ups in my house liked you. If the grown-ups in my house liked you, then I'm like, oh, they must be huge. But, if the grown-ups didn't like you, it doesn't matter how big you are. I was like, I never heard of them. I'm 8 years old. Anyway, dead on this day, Jackie Gleason. Let's put him in heaven. American actor, comedian, and producer. I don't want to overturn any rocks on Jackie Gleason because I'm pretty sure I'd find all kinds of horrible stuff. But seemed to be a good dude. He seemed like he had the same people around him his entire career. That's a very big sign with a Hollywood or entertainment career. If you're a guy who has the same crew around you for like 20, 30 years, you're probably a good dude because those dudes around you, they wouldn't put up with it for that long, right? It's always a good rule of thumb with radio. People would be like, man, I bet working for Howard Stern sucks. Like, really? Because Gary's been there 30 years. Working for Howard Stern must actually, in real life, be awesome. Now, whatever you have to go through on the air, that's fine. That's show business. But in real life, that tells me that Howard is very cool and takes care of his people. And that turned out to be true. Howard did. Now, you look at other radio shows. And they got a different producer every year. Why? Because radio people suck. Because a lot of us are real arrogant. And you get some 22-year-old producer and you're like, what do you know? It's tough. Can't get away with it. So that's why back in the day when you had favorite radio shows, there'd be a new producer every couple of months. I was always proud of the fact that with Kelly and I, we were able to hold the same group together. I thought that spoke to when shit got real serious off the air, that we were there for our people and that we cared about our people and our people cared about us. Jackie Gleason had that. He had the same crew of people around him his entire life. I think Jackie Gleason should go to heaven. I know there's probably some date rapey stuff from like 1930. He touched a girl's ass on VJ Day. Dead on this day in 2007. I got to click on this one because I just need to make absolutely sure about this because I think this is... hold on. Yeah. All right. This guy's got to go to hell. All right. I just want to make sure because I am not that big of a wrestling guy. Like, I don't know all that much about wrestling, and I certainly don't know much about wrestling from this man's era. It's a blind spot for me, so I just had to make sure. But I think it's pretty fair that we put Chris Benoit in hell, right? He's the one that killed his whole family. He's the wrestler who went a little... he killed his whole family and then killed himself. Yeah. Yeah, that is not something that people who suffer from depression do. People who suffer from depression typically do not turn their violence outward on the people they love. Typically, people who have depression, one of the great things that keep them from falling into that dark hole that leads to thoughts of one ending their own life. Typically, people who have that, before they get to that, they think of these people, your children, your wife, what is my action? What I'm about to do, how is this going to affect them? So it's just, for someone who has depression like me, it is just particularly insidious and gross that this coward, I don't call anyone who commits suicide due to depression or some other sort of thing, I don't call them cowards lightly. This guy's a fucking coward because he took out his wife and he took out his kids as well. That should be the reason that you keep moving forward and putting up with the hell of waking up every day. Those people. So if you decide that you can't take it anymore and then you somehow rationalize it in your mind as your, and this is probably what he did, rationalized it in his mind that he was sparing them the horrors of, no, you're a coward. You're a coward. You're a coward and you're a murderer. No sympathy from me. Chris Benoit, he can go to hell and burn forever. Dead on this day in 2014, American actor Eli Wallach. Look, it was slim pickings today for people who died. I don't know who Eli Wallach is. I'm looking at him right now. Old guy, pen and stuff. Go ahead. Let's put him in heaven. Why not? Don't know anything about him. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the first 3 quarters of today's show. Let's now once again thank our executive producer. That would be Tracy D., executive producer of today's show. If you would like to be tomorrow's executive producer, all you need be is the big tipper of today's show. So drop a little something at some point if you support this kind of talk radio, non-divisive, no particular political agenda, just regular people talking about regular things. Drop something in either the Venmo or the Cash App. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. All right, let's get moving into quarter 4. These are all the hot topics and current events and things that people are talking about today. Quarter 4 begins with, well, here we go, guys. It's debate week. Ooh, man. You got Biden, you got Trump. They're going to come out there on CNN. They're going to be able to hush the mics. Which, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's going to do. I heard something interesting and I thought, yeah, so CNN in this debate on Thursday is going to utilize mute buttons. So if one of these two guys starts rambling or it starts to get a little bit nuts, they're going to mute. They're going to mute. They're going to mute the conversation. Why? What exactly do they think we, and by we I mean me, are turning in for? I am tuning in to see a couple of old guys go ape shit on each other. And I know that the bulk of the craziness is going to come from Trump. And I also know that the reason that they installed the mute buttons is because of Trump, which, again, I ask myself, why? Do you know what? This is why CNN's ratings suck. They have no idea what we actually want. Put them on display. Put these two guys in. Here's what CNN ought to do. Just have an empty room, have one door on one side and another door on the other side. Cameras all over the place. Room boomed up with mics. Biden walks in one door, Trump the other. Lock those doors. And then just film it. Just make these two guys. I don't care what happens next. This is what we want to see. But mute button aside, this entire conversation, I believe, is moot because Trump ain't showing up. I'm saying it again. It's Monday. Trump is not showing up. There's no way. There is nothing politically advantageous for him in this debate. There is no, you want to know who he needs to win over? People like me. People like me who do not like Biden one bit. People like me who are somewhere in the middle of most of these things. I'm right on some thoughts, and I'm a little bit more left on some thoughts. People like me is who he needs to win over. But guess what? He can't win me over. That ship has sailed. I'm just looking for entertainment at this point. I don't care who wins. Doesn't matter. It has been proven to me over the past 25 years of my life that whoever the president is, it doesn't matter because the stock market keeps going up. Doesn't matter who the president is. The president is just there to be a distraction for us, the great unwashed, the peasants, the rubes, president doesn't do anything, so I don't give a shit. Anyway, Trump ain't showing up. So, we'll mention this every day this week. The debate, Thursday night, CNN, mute buttons and all. Trump ain't showing up. Temperatures. All right, let's talk about temperatures. It's so hot, man. It's already so. Apparently, it's the entire world that is really hot. How are we here in Dallas? I was out early this morning to walk the dog, and it was just like a blow dryer. You walk outside from this, nice air-conditioned environment we're forced to live in. I step outside. It's like, 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's just, I walk around the block. I come back in. I got to take a shower because I'm completely sweaty. It's currently 95 degrees. 95 degrees here. I don't know if that's expected to go up. Yeah, no, you know what? It looks okay. Looks like we're going to stay in the 90s today. What do we got? We got any bad ones coming? Yeah. Oh, just in time for the weekend. We'll start crushing hundreds. It looks like maybe late tomorrow, probably Wednesday. All right, here we go. So that's us. That's us here in North Texas. That's us in Dallas. But in the world breaks 1,400 temperature records in a week as heat waves sweep the globe. Apparently, and we'll probably be hearing a lot about this because it's really hot in Washington, D.C. and New York City. It's really hot in those two places. And those two places are where all the people we get our information from are. So just, we're going to be treated over the next few days with how difficult it is and how unbelievable this heat is. And the heat is going to be the big story because it's affecting these people. That's what's known as the East Coast bias. They promote whatever it is that is bothering them, and it's probably going to be the heat. So we're going to hear all about how bad the heat waves are. And by the way, why did we stop calling them heat waves? Why are we calling them heat domes now? I don't understand this. They used to be heat waves. Somebody said that on Twitter this weekend. And I was like, yeah, when did we start calling them? I also have a problem with wind chill factors. Wind chill factors are the combination of air temperature with wind speed. And it makes a 5-degree day with a 20-degree wind. It makes a 5-degree day feel like a minus 20-degree day. Wind chill factor. They don't call them that anymore. They call it something else now. I don't know why every generation needs to rename shit. What is the wind chill factor called now? Winded, I don't know, whatever it is. But they renamed heat waves to heat domes, so now we all have to live in that. Stocks. All right, one more time. Let's talk about stocks. Here's a big story. Everybody's, I've been telling you, it's good to be rich. Good to be rich in America. Stocks. Come on, download page. I can only fill for so long. Stocks are having their best election year since 1976, what the rally needs to continue. So apparently stocks, every year that there's an election, they look at the way the stocks had behaved. And apparently this is a great year for us. U.S. stocks have posted an impressive election year rally so far in 2024. But as investors question whether that rally will continue, they're watching inflation and economic growth. Oh, shut up. See, now you're talking about stuff. Now you're just losing us. Where are gas prices at? How much does a gallon of milk cost? Is there a job? If I lose my job, is it going to be easy for me to get another job? That's what the American voting populace cares about. Seriously, we don't care that you can, crunch these numbers and be like, look how good Wall Street is. Wall Street, we do that every day. We know Wall Street's doing great. We see it every day on the evening news. Wall Street's, everybody's getting richer and richer and richer. Meanwhile, the rest of us still haven't fully bailed ourselves out from the last time Wall Street took us into a ditch. Remember that? The mortgage scandal? Oh, yeah. Still, the regular folks still have bullshit credit because of that. Not Wall Street. They're having, that was funny. Remember when we did that to the American mortgage industry? It's crazy. Good times now, though. Good times are back. Stay mad. Stay angry. Be angry at the right things, people. Be angry at the right things, the things that are controlling us. Okay, so here I wanted to mention this. This was a bizarro story from Friday when we were on the air last. There was the end of the show. We started to get these alerts about a shooting that was happening in Arkansas. It blew up about an hour after we signed off. It finally started to blow up, and here's what happened. Another crazy dude with a gun got out of his stupid pickup truck in a parking lot in some rural Arkansas town, Fordyce and just started shooting people. He had a shotgun, he had a handgun, and he had a bandolier, and he had a whole bunch of, other bullets and stuff in pockets. So we don't know what this guy's story is. But again, he walked into this grocery store called the Mad Butcher, which, by the way, cool-ass name for a grocery store. Love that name, the Mad Butcher. Walks into the Mad Butcher, starts shooting people. 4 people are dead. Numerous others are injured. He got shot in the head, but, lucky for him, just a graze wound. He's doing great. He's going to be fine. He's alive. We don't know what the motive is. He's not talking. Nobody knows anything about this guy. He doesn't have a long criminal history or anything. He's just another dude who drove to a public place, pulled out his toys, and started slaughtering people. The suspect in a mass shooting at a grocery store in Arkansas was armed with a pistol, a 12-gauge shotgun, a bandolier, and dozens of extra shotgun rounds. It was one of at least 14 mass shootings in the U.S. since Friday. Don't conflate them all. This is why I'm talking about this one. There were a bunch of mass shootings, situations where a bunch of people got shot. But almost all of those concerned situations that the general public should not be concerned about. All of those concerned late night parties, the weekend. Oh, that's my girlfriend. How dare you look at her? All of those people get hurt when idiots drunk with guns pull them out at parties. Okay. So mass shootings, terrible, not at all saying that those aren't important. I'm saying they're different. I'm saying that the ones that really concern me as an American citizen are these. The ones where a dude just drives to a parking lot in his pickup truck, takes all of his guns, and kills a 23-year-old on her way to pick up a little, something for the weekend. The grocery. He killed a whole bunch of, killed old ladies. He killed this beautiful young 23-year-old girl. The suspect in a mass shooting at a grocery store in Arkansas was armed. We already went through that. It was one of at least 14. We don't need to talk about that. The U.S. has suffered at least 200. Okay, we don't need to go into this. I want details about this. We all know about how the U.S. has suffered from gun violence. Stop it. The suspect, his name is Travis Eugene Posey. They don't all go by their middle names, but you know why they do that, don't you? You know why every time somebody does something stupid and then they get their name in the press, they get their middle name attached. John Wayne Gacy, all of these things. It's because what if there's another Travis Posey out there? Like if there's another dude named Travis Posey, and today all of a sudden all over the news, it's like Travis Posey killed him. So that's why they use the middle name. They try to make this person a little bit more specific so as not to accidentally incriminate some innocent dude who's like, what happens when a guy named like Bob Smith does something bad? His name on the air will be Robert Aloysius Smith. They'll make sure that. Anyway, Travis Eugene Posey's 44-year-old. He allegedly opened fire. Allegedly, we saw video of it. There's video of him. He opened fire at the Mad Butcher in Fordyce on Friday, killing 4 people, ages 23 to 81, and wounding 9 others. The suspect arrived at the Mad Butcher armed with. The suspect arrived at the Mad Butcher armed. Secretary of Public Safety and Director of Arkansas State Police Mike Hagar said, "We believe that most, if not all, the rounds fired by the suspect were from the shotgun. Authorities believe the suspect immediately began engaging victims in the parking lot after exiting his truck and then proceeded into the store. Once inside the store, the suspect began firing indiscriminately at both customers and employees." That's it. The indiscriminate, no specific target, no understandable motivation for why he is doing this. As absurd as it is, but that guy hitting on my girlfriend is at least a motivation that I could understand why a moron might do this. These are troubling because I have no idea what the motivation of this guy is. He's got no criminal record. They don't know anything. It's been 4 days now. And I'm sure if he had social media diatribes or manifestos, we'd have heard about that. We don't see any of that shit. This appears to be just a quiet, normal dude. Was a tree doctor. He went and he'd come to your house and he'd fix your tree problems. Once inside the grocery store, the suspect began firing indiscriminately. Law enforcement responding to the shooting exchanged gunfire with the suspect. Officers arrived less than 3 minutes from the time the first shots were fired. He immediately engaged in a firefight with the arriving law enforcement where they were able to stop the threat. Posey was treated for non-life-threatening injuries after exchanging gunfire with law enforcement. All right, so that's the story from Friday. I've been looking at this all weekend long, and there's just no real, I don't know what I'm looking for. I guess what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a reason. Why did he do it? Why? Give me I'm not looking for an excuse. I'm not looking for a justification. I'm simply looking for what was in his head. Why were you doing this? I mean, why would you just wake up, take your guns, and start killing innocent people? Here's some more sad news. I think we're getting to the point where we should all prepare ourselves. Okay? Just saying. We should all prepare. We're getting to the point. This is the first in what will be a string of stories, because when you're 91 years old like Willie Nelson is, it's not going to get better. He's not going to be cliff diving, Willie Nelson, 91, has canceled all concert appearances per doctor's orders. Okay. All right. Well, doctor's orders. That sounds good. It sounds, when it's worded like that, this is why headlines are so important. When it's worded like per doctor's orders, that suggests that he himself feels that he has the Constitution to be able to do it, which is good. So the per doctor's orders, that's good. It's like, no, you need to rest. You need to take care of yourself. Oh, come on, doc, I feel fine. Like, it might be one of those kind of things, which is great. So that's good to read it written like that. Although, what do you know? What do I tell you all the time? You can't believe any of these clickbait headlines. You don't know what they all mean. We regret to inform you that Willie Nelson is not feeling well and per doctor's orders has been advised to rest for the next 4 days, reads a statement posted to the legendary country singer's socials. He was scheduled to appear as part of the Outlaw Music Festival tonight, Saturday, and Sunday. Let's see here. Anyway, so good thoughts for Willie. That's going to be a big one. That's going to be a really big one nationally. And I think it's going to be particularly big here in Texas because, he's such an identifiable Texan. Even though, I mean, he ain't the quintessential Texan. He isn't like if you grab someone from New Hampshire and said, describe the typical Texan, they aren't going to describe Willie Nelson, which is a part of his appeal. He is truly unique. He is an individual. He is one of a kind. He is Willie Nelson. That's a big one, though. I'm trying to like, who are the big ones? I have a very dark, macabre sense of this stuff. I've always been fascinated with it. At every stage in my life, I've been kind of aware of who the next truly big one is. And by big one, I mean superstar. Like when I was little, it was like, Bob Hope's got to go soon. He's going to be a big one. Or even before that, it was like John Wayne, Lucy. They were like big ones. Willie Nelson's going to be a big one. Who else is a big one? The Queen. Queen Elizabeth died like 2 years ago. That was a big one. That was like, we're waiting on that one to fall. But who's like the oldest Hollywood? So Clint. There you go. Clint. Clint's the guy. Clint will be a big one. Willie will be a big one. McCartney will be a big one. Well, I mean, you could get into the rock world, like, yeah. I mean, let's forget about the rock world because then because we got a whole bunch of these, British invasion guys who are, they don't have 50 years left. Your Jaggers, your Keith Richards, your Eric Claptons, even your Elton Johns and stuff like that. So let's just keep it to Clint Eastwood and Willie Nelson. Those are the big ones. Byron hates De Niro now. Because you're a partisan weirdo, Byron. Stop being a partisan weirdo. Who gives a fuck how Robert... You're never going to have drinks with Robert De Niro. You don't need to, I don't know. Hey, look, it's no sweat off my back. You want to hate him. I'm just pointing out that that's kind of a weird reason to hate somebody. I get it, though. I get it. Speaking of a weird reason to hate somebody, like if you were like a Trump hater, I'm re-binging Entourage. You know who's really funny in Entourage? James Woods. I'm watching James Woods on Entourage. Yeah, I mean, I see his tweets and I'm like, oh God, this guy's a weirdo. Doesn't change the fact that I laughed out loud and was like, oh my God, James Woods is funny. Now, it was James Woods playing James Woods, but it was a version of James Woods that is sleazy and kind of a con man and a fast talker and all that. But it was still funny, and he was willing to play that as himself. It's like the Entourage people were like, okay, James, we're going to have you be one of Ari's clients, and here's how we want you to play it. We're going to make you really sleazy and really pushy and not likable at all. But he was so funny. James Woods is a baller. James Woods, the best thing I ever saw James Woods do was a TV movie in the 1970s called Holocaust. You guys remember that? You guys remember the miniseries Holocaust? It starred Meryl Streep before she was fully Meryl Streep. It was Meryl Streep doing a TV movie. So that's where Meryl Streep's career was. I mean, we're talking before everything. This is Meryl Streep, James Woods, Fritz Weaver. Holocaust. It was good. That's a really good. I would watch that again. I remember that being a really good miniseries. Anyway, don't hate Robert De Niro just because he runs his mouth like a fool. Everybody runs their mouth like a fool. Look at me. I run my mouth like a fool. Actually, I don't care. You can hate Robert De Niro. As I said, it doesn't bother me at all. I don't really have much of a thought on Robert De Niro other than he's, one of the great actors of all time. But because of this stuff, I don't think that Robert De Niro's death will be as big as Clint Eastwood's or Willie Nelson's. I think those will be huge. Isn't there a woman? There's got to be a woman that we can include in here. Like, who's the last truly? Carol Burnett. God, I forgot about Carol Burnett. Carol Burnett has achieved that icon status where when she dies, she's doing a new show though. She's on that new Kristen Wiig show, Palm Royal, or maybe it's called Royal Palm. I'm not sure, but it's on Apple TV. Carol Burnett's in that, but Carol Burnett plays like a 99-year-old comatose woman lying in a bed with tubes. So that's the extent to what Carol Burnett's acting is, at least from what I've seen. Maybe she comes out of the coma. I don't know. But Carol Burnett will be big. Dolly Parton. Jeff says Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton will bring the country to its knees. If Dolly Parton will be massive. But here's the thing. I think we got time with Dolly. I'm thinking about people who are in their 90s. You know what I mean? Who are like, I think Dolly's still got a little time. How old is Dolly? It's like, doesn't Dolly seem like she's always going to be 45 to me, but I know she's like probably 70, 75, 80 maybe. All right, let's see here. Gen Z, let's talk about Gen Z. Here's a story. This came from, where is this? This is out of, it doesn't matter. It does. London Times. All right. They're talking about Gen Zs. Gen Z, Generation Z. Generation Z. This is how old we're getting people. Generation Z, they're already adults. Gen Z is going to be a big voter. Oh my God. Okay, so what is Gen Z? Actually, this article gets it wrong. It defines Gen Z incorrectly, which may just be because it's in England. Everyone knows we can be passionate. Gen Z is a major problem. Gen Z is divided. Everyone knows we can be passionate about our politics, which can lead to some differences. But what many might not realize is that Generation Z, spanning from 1997 to 2012, has a major division along gender lines that other generations don't seem to be dealing with. It's an interesting story, and we'll get into that, but that's wrong. That's the wrong time. It's not 90. Gen Z is not 97 to 2012. Maybe there are some groups that work with cohorts that have, a different thing. It's not Gen Z to me is not 97 to 2012. Gen Z is 95 to 2010. 67. Wait, how does it go? It goes, so if you start with, right, 65. Gen X is 1965 to 1980. Okay, millennials are 1980 to 1995. Gen Z is 1995 to 2010. Gen Alpha is 2010 to 2025. My God, we're at the end of Alpha. Oh my God. Anyway, the problem here is that Generation Z is divided, both as far as like political and in all ways. And they're trying to figure out why that is. And they think it's because of access. And this is very interesting. Other generations, even millennials to a great extent, other generations' tastes, flavors, fashions, all of that stuff were curated by a group. Whether it was the networks, the movie theaters, the record industry. There was just a couple of groups of people who decided who got what and what became fashionable, right? Sorry, a little distracted. This generation, Gen Z, is the first one not to have all of their tastes and the things that they were exposed to curated by some monolithic organization, be it the record industry. Gen Z is the first generation that had internet access, who discovered YouTube things that were not curated by the powers that be, that had their opinions and their thought processes shaped by interacting on social media, which is something that other generations didn't. So when you think of, say, the baby boomers and what their peak generation was, it was Haight-Ashbury. They're all hippies. They're all this. They're all one thing. They all think this way and they all vote this way. Same can be said for Generation X. Oh, they're the grunge kids. They're the slacker generation. They have the same influences. They like the same things. You say that for all the generations until you get to Generation Z. So what does that leave us in 2024? It leaves us with a generation that cannot be defined. You cannot count on Gen Z. Well, young people always vote a certain way. No, they found you cannot depend on that anymore with Gen Z. Because there is not one unified narrative that this generation has grown up behind. This generation has been inundated with every bullshit, whether it's women in Gen Z who have been found to now be far more progressive and far more liberal-minded and far more, I was going to say thoughtful, but maybe that's incorrect. And this has become, and this is because they believe of the empowerment of, and I'm going to say it, the Me Too issue. The Me Too issue is 5 years old now. There were like 14, 15, 16-year-old girls who were, exposed to that Me Too movement 5 years ago, and it defined and shaped the way they look at things. So now you move over to the men. Men, they're finding young men are more conservative than they have ever been. Still, Gen Z is overwhelmingly progressive and, as far as, partisan breakdowns go. But what they're seeing with Gen Z men is that there are far more of a percentage of young Gen Z who are conservative. And they're saying that that is because of the backlash of the Me Too movement, that this is the group of men who have now, because of Me Too, have now been reached by the Andrew Tates of the world, who are sort of filling their minds with a whole different way of looking at male-female relationships, and that's causing them to be more conservative. Anyway, it's a mess. It's an interesting article. Just Google search it. The difference or the problem with Gen Z is fascinating. I won't read any more of it, but it goes into a bunch of really interesting explanations as to why this Gen Z is so different than all the other generations. All right, moving on. What else do we have here? Here was a story. This is always interesting to me because I used to use these. The feds, they took down the world's largest illegal streaming platform. Okay. You know what that is? Well, we know what legal streaming platforms are, right? Netflix and Hulu and all that. But there's a whole bunch of illegal ones out there. If you know where to look, you can find them. I used to watch a Russian sports network that was illegal. I used to call it Netflix. Ha! Get it? Because it's Russian. Net. I used to call it Netflix. And that's how I used to get like pay-per-views of MMA fights and all that kind of stuff. But I can't use that anymore. That site seems to have been taken down. But apparently in terms of movies and television shows and all that kind of stuff, there was another one. And this one was called Jet. Jett, Jetflix. Jetflix. People would pay $10 a month. Apparently, the scam is like you'd pay $10 a month and you'd get access to like all streaming content, like on all the streaming. You know, $10 a month, you get Netflix, Hulu, Prime, you get all the Apple, you get access to all of that. 5 men convicted of operating massive illegal streaming service that allegedly had more content than Netflix, Hulu, Vudu, and Prime Video combined. Well, again, that's misleading. I just told you why that is. It's not that they have more content than any one of those. It's just because they illegally steal all of those platforms or access to them. That's why this is so big. They have more content. Again, misleading. Headline is misleading. You duplicitous journalist. Here's what it says. 5 men were convicted. Easy for you to say. 5 men were convicted by federal jury in Las Vegas this week as they're in their part in the Jetflix streaming service, which officials say was the largest illegal streaming service in the United States. I've never heard of it. Jetflix, which charged $9.99 per month. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine having like just automatic renewal on your debit card to an illegal streaming source? What? You're giving an illegal streaming source access to your debit card. What? What if they overcharge you? What? Who are you going to call? I don't understand. People, right? People are dumb. Jetflix, I mean, maybe if you just opened a bank account for this, you know, like it was just you put $10 in a month so they couldn't take any more. I don't know. Jetflix, which charged $9.99 per month, generated millions of dollars in subscription revenue and caused substantial harm to television program copyright owners. Oh, I bet it did. I bet those rich guys only have 2, 3 yachts when they could be having 4 and 5. All right, let's see what else. Rip Jetflix. We hardly knew ye. What else do we have here? Oh, Josh Duggar. You guys know this Josh Duggar guy? I never watched these shows. Okay, so let me get this straight. So I'm just going to free ball it on what I know and understand of Josh Duggar. Is Josh Duggar, did he grow up? Is he one of these like, I'm one of 86 kids? Or is he like the dad of like 86 kids? I don't know. But he's the star of the Duggars. Like, I know that. Like they have created enough of a name and a brand for themselves that I know what it is. It's from like some stupid reality show that I would never be caught dead watching. 18 kids and counting, right? Something like that. Okay. So I want to say that Josh is one of the kids because he looks fairly young here. I'm looking at a mugshot of Josh Duggar, which ought to foreshadow that things aren't going great in Joshy's world. So he grew up on TV. He's like one of these. And what is the point of these shows? Like, look, these 2 idiots in Iowa just had 50 kids, and we're going to show you how normal it can be. Come on. This is what I always tell my buddy James Parker on WBAP. I always tell him he had too many kids. He had too many kids. I did not have enough kids. I had 1 kid. That means all my eggs are in one basket. That's not a place you want to be, right? The best deal is to have 1 boy, 1 girl. That's good. Now you can spread out the expectations. You have 1 kid, you're bound to be stuck with me. Like, my mom did not hit the lottery, but I got all my eggs in one basket on 1 kid, which, is not necessarily good. James Parker's got, I think, what has he got? 8 kids now? Something bad's going to happen. One of them kids, something squirrely. I mean, with my kid, I stay up at night, like worrying about what kind of nonsense my 1 kid is going to get into. What is my kid going to do that's going to drive me? I can only imagine if you got like 8 kids. You're like, oh God, I just know that one of these kids is going to be a serial killer. One of these kids is going to walk into a Target. Too many kids. James Parker's got too many kids. They're all wonderful. Don't get me wrong. I like them all. I know them all. I've met them all. They're all great. I mean, they're here. Can't get rid of them. They're here. And they're good parents and all that. But man, that's too many kids. Somebody's going to do something. I'm hoping that they don't. Josh Duggar is one of those. Prime example. Josh Duggar is like one of like 50 kids, I think. Anyway, he all grows up and he gets married, I guess. And again, I'm free balling on this. We're going to jump into the actual story, but I'm just trying to figure out, this is my drunk history version of what I know of this dude. So I don't know if he's still got his own show and or whatever, but I know that this dude like got busted for like kiddie porn or something, right? And he went on trial and he was in jail. And yeah, see, that's what happens when you have 18 kids. You're like, one of these kids is going to be into kiddie porn. You just know the chances are way higher now. Got 18 kids. One of these kids is going to do some really screwed up shit. One of these kids, too many kids, too many opportunities to be just absolutely destroyed as a parent. One kid gets me so stressed out and so destroyed. And I don't even get them all the time. You know, I'm just like a part-time dad, but just that one kid and thinking about and obsessing on that one kid, I could only imagine what 8 kids would do to me. Anyway, let's talk about Josh Duggar, because his case, his little kiddie porn case, apparently he's made it all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has rejected an appeal from ex-reality star Josh Duggar. Let's see what this is about. The Supreme Court on Monday rejected an appeal from Josh Duggar, a former reality television star convicted of downloading child sex abuse images. Duggar was on the TLC show 19 Kids and Counting. There you go. I don't even think I want to have sex with somebody 19 times. I gotta be honest. Duggar was on the TLC show 19 Kids and Counting with his large family before his 2021 conviction. The court did not elaborate on the denial, as is typical. What denial? Oh, the denial of the Supreme Court. Federal authorities investigated after police in Little Rock, Arkansas found child sexual abuse material was being shared by a computer traced to him. So what does that mean? Shared by a computer traced to him. So does that mean that he had some child porn, which is a problem? That's kind of the, so, I mean, that to me seems to be like, that should be the crime, but okay, how do you get him for that crime? So he had some child porn, and from his computer, what did he do? He shared it with another child porn enthusiast? Is that what, I'm just trying to understand what the charges are. Because yeah, he wasn't charged with like producing it. Most of the time when you hear about these stories, it's always like, some dude producing child porn or something. So I don't know. That's why this is interesting. And this is probably why the Supreme Court looked at it. So he's been charged, or he was convicted of sharing child porn on a computer that was traced to him. Okay. Duggar was on the TLC show. We did that. Federal authorities investigated him, the sexual abuse of children. Investigators testified that images depicting the sexual abuse of children, including toddlers, were downloaded in 2019 onto a computer at a car dealership that Duggar owned. He was sentenced to 12.5 years in prison. Oh, man, I didn't know about this. I didn't know that. So that's what it was. It's a computer at a car dealership that he owns. Now, I got to know more. Like, was he the only one with the password to, was it his computer? Right? I mean, that sounds very vague. You could give me more details. Like when you say a computer at a car dealership he owned, like where was it? Well, it was in his office. I'm like, oh, okay, there you go. That tells me all I need to know. But here's the other thing. Wasn't he like, when he was a teenager, didn't he like molest his own brothers and sisters or something? I think he's got like another weird situation. Lower courts have upheld his conviction, rejecting Duggar's argument that his attorney should have been able to ask about the prior sex offense conviction of a former employee of the dealership who had been using the same computer. All right, that seems like a big deal. Okay, so like a computer at a dealership that he owned downloaded child porn. That's not the same as sharing it. Oh, is it? Does that? Somebody else shared it? I don't know. Anyway, that shouldn't matter. But I'm trying to figure out if there is any deniability for him. So it's a car dealership that he owns, and apparently there is someone that he employed at the car dealership who had a sex offense record, a prior sex offense conviction, and that person had used the same computer. Okay, see, now I worry because, man, I'm telling you, these charges, it's the worst. right? I mean, again, I said in my mind, if you go to Thailand, you're never coming back from that. Like in my mind, you're always a guy who went to Thailand. How do you come back? How do you come back from being accused of having child porn on your computer? How do you come back from that? You don't. Oh my God. Oh. But if you're running a car dealership and it's a public computer, I mean, I don't know. I'm not seriously looking to excuse this guy. I think there's a good chance. I mean, he was raised on a TV show with 18 brothers and sisters. He's probably got some issues, but I'm just saying that's what the Supreme Court was forced to look at. The Supreme Court was forced to look at whether or not the fact that there was another sex offender with access to that computer, should that have been looked into before the conviction of Josh Duggar? And the Supreme Court said, nope. TLC canceled 19 Kids and Counting back in 2015 following allegations that Duggar had molested 4 of his sisters. Oh, well, there you go. All right, that's all I needed to know. We can move on now from that story. That seems... Okay, sure, maybe there's a dude that worked at the car dealership who had access to that computer as well. Maybe he was convicted in college of, date rapey type stuff. But okay, I didn't know about you molesting 4 of your sisters. I'm gonna shift my attention back to you, the guy who molested 4 of his sisters and who owns it all. Maybe the Supreme Court got it right. I don't know. All right, let's talk about Miss Texas. There was a Miss Texas pageant. You know what? I got to do something with this light. This light is killing me. It's starting to get migraines. I'm going to bring the light down a little bit. I'm starting to see spots because I moved the light and it's been shining in my eye this whole time. So I'm beginning to have spots, which is not good. Can't really see anything. All right, let me show you the new Miss Texas, or not the new Miss Texas. She's not the new Miss Texas. The new Miss Texas is different. But this is a woman who almost won the Miss Texas pageant over the weekend. Miss Texas pageant, of course, goes on to participate in the Miss USA pageant, which then goes on to participate in the Miss Universe pageant. So this is the path trajectory. This is the big leagues, if you will, of the beauty pageant thing. The Miss Texas pageant, to determine the Miss USA contestant from Texas, was held over the weekend. Here, let me show you who almost won, and then I'll tell you why this is such a crazy deal. Okay. Oh, for crying out loud. Are you kidding me? You're going to give me a pop-up ad? You son of a bitch. You no good rotten. All right, we'll do it this way. All right, here we go. All right, there you go. Can you see her? She's 71. 71 years old. She almost won the Miss Texas pageant. Now, she didn't win the Miss Texas pageant. We'll talk about her in a second. But let's find out a little bit about this 71-year-old grandma. She may not have won the Miss Texas USA, but she certainly has made history. At 71, Marissa Tejo of El Paso made history over the weekend as the oldest contestant ever in the Miss Texas USA pageant. It's a preliminary to Miss USA. The Miss Texas USA pageant was held last weekend at the Hilton Post Oak Hotel in Houston. Look at her, 71 years old. She didn't win, but I'll tell you, I can see close-up pictures of her. You need to look her up. She looks amazing for 71 years old. What, are you kidding me? However, she didn't win. She didn't win for good reason, because Miss Dallas, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Dallas took home the title of, let's see, do we have a picture of her? Let me see if I can get you a picture of Miss Dallas. Not a lot of great pictures over here. You go. This is the winner. This is just going to be a modeling picture. This is going to be the girl who represents Texas in the Miss USA pageant. Here she is. She's Miss Dallas. I'm not sure what her name is. Do I have her name? Ariana Ware, ladies and gentlemen. Here she is. Boom. Ariana Ware. That's Miss Dallas. Now she's Miss Texas. She's going on to be Miss USA. All right, that's it. Anyway, the deal with that story is a 71 years old, 71-year-old grandma, man. She's out there. She's rushed. She looked great. Her body was smoking. Yeah, Google it. Get some good pictures of her. You'll see what I'm talking about. 71 years old. Dude, she looks 41. That's what's crazy. 71 looking 41. Let's see here. What else do we have? Anything else happening today? Nah, I don't want to do that. Oh, all right. How about this? How about the Hawk Tua girl? Let's talk a little bit more about her, because guess what? We know who she is now. Here, let me show you these pictures of the Hawk Tua. Nope. Okay, hold on. Tell you what we know about Hawk Tua girl. She's taken the internet by storm last week, and I am a big fan, and I'm going to tell you why I'm a big fan. Here she is. This is the Hawk Tua girl. Her name is Haley Welch. There's been a lot of lies about who she is over the past couple of days. She is not a minister's daughter who has been hiding because she's so humiliated and her family is very angry. That's not true. She is not a Nashville nursery school teacher who immediately lost her job. That is not true. She is just Haley Welch. She is a college student there in Nashville. She was out with her friend having a good time. And now she finds herself the biggest internet star in America, right up there with great names like, oh, I don't know, Oliver Anthony. I don't know. That's it. I'm out. Did you know what I mean? Every couple of months, we get another one of these big internet sensations who, well, Hawk Tua girl is not letting her brief moment here in the spotlight get past her. She is making money off of it. That's right. Have you seen all the Hawk Tua merchandise and all that kind of stuff? That's hers. She's selling that stuff on her Instagram, and apparently she's making crazy bank. Good for her. Here's some more pictures of the Hawk Tua girl. Okay, that's her bolt. You can see it's okay. That's her, and that's her friend too. By the way, not a lot has been mentioned about her friend in the original Hawk Tua spit on that thing video. Her friend's really pretty. Have you noticed her friend? Look at these two. There she is. Look at that Hawk Tua girl with a snake. You got a Hawk Tua spit on that snake. It's her and her friend. They're doing some stuff. Anyway, she's a real girl. She seems just to be delightful. And she has been able to turn this whole thing into a little money-making thing. There she is wearing her hat. See? She's sitting right there. She's got her Hawk Tua 2024 hat. I believe that's her grandpa. She's adorable. Good for her. I wish nothing but the best for Hawk Tua girl, Haley Welch. I like her too because her energy, like her, she just doesn't seem like she has meanness in her. You know, just the way she was so willing to engage and have fun in that moment. There were no pretenses. She wasn't trying to be cool. She was just living in the moment and being her genuine self. And it just came off delightful. And a bit vulgar, but still delightfully and innocently vulgar. There was a lot of moving parts to it. Good for her. Good for you, Haley Welch. Nick Hogan is in the news. You remember Nick Hogan? Nick Hogan is only in the news for one thing: car accidents. That's right. This is Hulk Hogan's ne'er-do-well idiot kid. You remember, like, when he was 16, he was street racing with his buddy, and now his buddy's like brain dead and been a vegetable for like 100 years. Yeah, that's how we got to know Nick Hogan. I believe he skated on that. I believe he was in trouble for, recklessly street racing and putting his friend in a coma. And did he get off on that? I don't know. Whatever. Nick Hogan in trouble with a vehicle again. This time it's DUI. Nick Hogan, son of pro wrestling legend, gets year of probation after pleading guilty to his DUI. Got a year of probation. What are you doing, dog? Let's look at what this dude looks like. Because the last time we saw him, he was just like a teen kid. Like I think it was like back in 2007 or something when he was involved in that car accident. He looks like trouble now. You can see give you his booking photo. This is Hulk Hogan's kid. He doesn't even look like Hulk Hogan. Boom, there he is. Look at him. There's Hulk Hogan's kid. It's his latest booking photo. What is that thing? What? Get out of here. We don't need that there. Boom. Okay, let's see what the story is. According to Pinellas County Sheriff's Office booking records, Nick Hogan was charged with driving under the influence, which is a first-degree misdemeanor. An arrest affidavit stated that at about 1:18 Eastern Time on November the 18th, 2023, so this is back when it occurred, officers conducting a traffic stop on Gulf Bay Boulevard in Clearwater observed a Dodge Ram that was approaching them in a separate lane. Okay. An officer used his flashlight to signal Bolea. Here's another thing I don't get. The dude goes around with his name Nick Hogan, but that's not his name. His name is Nick Bolea. Hulk Hogan's real name is Terry Bollea. He never had it changed legally. So how is Nick Hogan? That's kind of douchey, isn't it? You're not Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is a character that your father, Terry Bollea, created. And you're walking around, why, for swag? Are you that desperate and that insecure? That's weird. Should be Nick Bolea. He's going around telling the world he's Nick Hogan. The Clearwater Police Department said another officer detected that the vehicle was traveling at 51 and a 40, blah, blah, blah. All right, whatever. He got a little DUI for the only time I've ever heard of Nick Hogan is because of being douchey with a car. Oh, God, I bet he's such a douche. I bet you growing up Hulk Hogan's kid just ruined you. What else do we have? Oh, Paris Hilton's got a new song out. Yeah, the world didn't need it, but yet here we are. It's Paris Hilton time again. She put out a song, Stars When Stars Fall or something. We used to play it a lot on the old Pugs and Kelly show, which is why I thought it would be interesting for us to listen to Paris Hilton's lead single off her second album. That's right, it's her second album. Like 15 years in between the two albums. But whatever. Let's see are you interested at all in what Paris Hilton is getting into? Here's what bothers me about this. Paris Hilton, for all intents and purposes, over the past couple of years, every time you heard her or every time you saw a story that referenced her, it was always for something that was markedly different than what we had come to know Paris Hilton for. And I thought to myself, isn't that great? Look at her. She's cleaning herself up. She's growing up. Not cleaning. I don't mean to suggest that she was ever dirty or a drug addict or anything, but she seems to be more interested in manicuring her reputation and personal brand with a little bit more sophistication and elegance than maybe she ever did, which is great. That's aging gracefully. She's a beautiful woman. Now she's moving into the elder socialite type, arena. So she has to change. And everything that we've seen over the past couple of years have sort of been representative of somebody who is following that path. Suddenly cutting an album and trying to be a pop star again undoes all of that. It undoes the kids and the soccer games and the carpools and the grocery shopping and the happy wife. This is back to being weird Paris Hilton again, thinking that you can just, because she's not a talented singer. She's not good. All right, here, let's look at this. This is, hold on. Why is YouTube blocked? This is weird. Hold on. All right, hold on. Yeah, I don't know why it's not letting me connect to the song. So that's okay. That's okay. We can do it. Stars Are Blind was, I think, what the original song was called. Oh my God, they pulled it. That's what they did. They seem to have pulled it. Oh, no, here we go. Here's another one. Okay, here's another version. All right, maybe it will be released. Let's give a listen to Paris Hilton's. Should we listen to her just so you can remember what we were? Okay, let's see if she's gotten better. Yeah, let's do that. Let's listen to a little of Paris Hilton's Stars Are Blind song. I think this goes all the way back to like 2007 or something like that. All right, let's make sure you remember this. The last time Paris Hilton tried this. All right, here we go. Check this out for a couple of seconds.
I don't mind spending some time just hanging here with you, 'cause I don't find too many guys that treat me like you do. Those other guys I wanna take me for a
right.
ride, but when I walk they
So there you go. Paris Hilton, Stars Are Blind. That's her original attempt at a pop single. It would be very easy and also lazy for me to just go, that's terrible. That thing sucks. That thing's absolutely terrible. The fact of the matter is, it's not terrible. What it is totally forgettable. There's nothing about her first single that made me go, yeah, that one's a banger. I love that. It's nothing. It's forgettable. Sounds like with it. Look, if every radio station in America decided that they were going to start playing that song 10 times a day, then yeah, it would be a big hit because that's how the curation process used to work. But nobody did that. So it's just like, short of that, it's not going to organically take off because it's not a great, memorable piece of music. All right, so there you have it. So now that like 15 years later, she's out here again. Let me see. Can I find that? Now let's go listen to her new song. Here is something to be noted, though. That version of that song, she didn't. Obviously there was a lot of effects on her voice, but it didn't sound like it was all of that auto-tune. Was that before auto-tune was as popular as it is now? I don't know. All right, here we go. Let's see. Let's play the new one. This is a brand new Paris Hilton song. It's a real album. They're putting it out. It's called I'm Free. Someone named Rena. Do we know who Rena? Am I supposed to know who Rena is? It's I'm Free. Paris Hilton's I'm Free featuring Rena. I do not know who Rena is, but let's go ahead and give this a listen. The brand new one.
lost pitch energy. I'm the centerpiece. I don't have enemies, but they don't wanna be me, I swear. It doesn't bother me, I don't really care. There's nothing in the world that could bring me down. There's no one in the room that could
All right. Yeah, I get it. All right. Yeah, I'm good. All right, we're gonna get out of that. Once again, it's the exact same thing as the first song. I don't know. Sounds like everything else. Sounds very generic. Sounds not. I'm not gonna remember it. There was nothing there. That beat is a beat I've heard a million times before. Anyway, there you go. That's it. Paris Hilton's got a new song out. Chat room. Let's talk about Mike. Mike in the chat room. What's this? He says this is the kind BS going viral. JFC. That means Jesus effing Christ. Are you talking about the Hawk Tua girl? Are you what is that? What is that programmed response, Mike? I think that's a programmed response to see the Hawk Tua girl and go, this is Jesus. This is what's fucking. What is that about? The Hawk Tua girl is awesome. It's going viral for all the reasons that I told you. It's a simple little 3-second thing of someone being uniquely authentic in the moment. That's what people are connecting to. I mean, what should go viral? It's going viral because of that, because of her. She's a star. It's called X Factor. It's what agents and Hollywood talent people, it's what they look for. She's got it. She popped. She said 5 words or whatever. Hawk to it, spit on that thing. She said 6 words. And it was just about her energy. That's why it went viral. I mean, I don't know. I don't think. Are you looking, Mike? Are you expecting things that go viral to have some sort of earth-shaking significance? Because that is the direct opposite of why things go viral. Things go viral because, they're funny and they're stupid and they're nonsensical and they're mind candy. But yeah, I mean, I completely understand why that goes viral. And the reason I'm talking about that is because, I do this. I stream. I constantly, I'm fascinated by how and why things go viral. I have no idea what the secret sauce is, though. If I can figure out that, boy, that's me, I'm getting in line, right? And me and a billion other people are trying to figure out what that secret sauce is. That was just an X Factor thing. Lightning in a bottle. She just said something funny. It looked good. It was marketed in the moment by people who knew how to get it out there and edit it right. And now all of a sudden she's making big money selling Hawk Tua 2024 hats. Good for her. Go for her. What's this? Al says that Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie are getting back together. He says, I'm not sure if it's going to be called The Simple Life again, but they're reuniting for a reality show. That's fine. I mean, I'm not going to watch it. Again, there are so many platforms. People can do absolutely everything. Everything is out there. Whatever. It's not for me. It wasn't for me then, right? It wasn't when The Simple Life first came on. I was like a man in his 30s. It wasn't targeting me. Other than, I guess, Paris Hilton is always on some level targeting men in their 30s because Paris Hilton's a beautiful woman. So there is that. She is beautiful too. She is. That's why I was so happy for her when it seemed like she was, moving into a more sophisticated, elegant space, because you can forgive. You're only going to be in your 20s for 10 years. People need to, I tell people this all the time. Enjoy your 20s. You're only going to be in your 20s for 10 years. And that's really it. Everything after your 20s, you're basically some shade of old. Okay? So whatever you do in your 20s, you can bounce back from that. You're going to be some shade of old far longer in your public life than you were in your 20s. People can completely forget about what you were in your 20s. Ask Robert Downey Jr. Right? People forget. Ask Snoop Dogg if people forget what you were in your 20s, because Snoop Dogg is highly bankable in 2024. And Snoop Dogg was like, a gangbanging criminal element in 1994. So. All right, Paris Hilton's new song. Who cares? Moving on. Do I have anything else? I think that's pretty much it, guys. I think we're out of stuff to talk about today. The only other thing that I have that I wanted to mention here on today's show before we wrap up and get out of here is I am just moving. I am trucking along. I am trucking along with my rewatch of the HBO series Entourage. I didn't get to watch as much of it as I wanted to this weekend, but hey, we'll jump back in tonight. I'll jump back. I'll watch an episode when I'm eating dinner later tonight. I'll watch a couple of episodes tonight before bed. I've become obsessed with this show. Now, here's one of the reasons why I'm not watching as many episodes. Well, I got other things going on, but also it's because I'm stopping in the episodes, finding web pages about the entire episode that I'm watching, and then just devouring these web pages and all the information about creating. I don't know. It's taking very long, but I'm enjoying it. I didn't think I would. I was a little bit sus about jumping into an Entourage rerun or re-binge, because I watched the show in the moment. I remember when it was on, and I remember enjoying it. God damn this dog. I remember how much I enjoyed it when it was on. But I also, at the time, mercilessly made fun of how douchey it was. But it was still that it can be all things at once. It can be many things to different people. It was still a great show. So that's what I wanted to investigate when I jump back into the re-binge. I wanted to see, does it hold up in any way, shape, or form? It absolutely does. It holds up as far as storytelling. It holds up as far as performances. It holds up as far as just being an interesting look at the way, as I say, the sausage is made. And the sausage in this case is Hollywood movies and Hollywood careers. It's fascinating from that perspective. And I'm enjoying it. And the dialogue is tremendous. The dialogue is great. The way they speak to each other, the back and forth, it's just great. Anyway, so that's a nice little surprise for me, because I honestly thought that I might get through the first 4 or 5 episodes and then bail out on it. There is something, though, that stuck out to me in an episode that I recently saw that made me wince, that made me go, oh my God, look at how crazy the world has changed. So let me tell you about the plot line that this scene I mean, this scene was really not upsetting because I'm not a pussy, but this scene was heavy. And certainly when you talk about things that you couldn't do now, this one is one of them. And I think this was from 2008, maybe 2007. They shot this scene. So the premise is this: Ari Gold, as played by Jeremy Piven, has acquired his company, his star agency has acquired another agency, making him now the biggest and most powerful agent in the entire world of entertainment. He walks into the new agency that he has just purchased, Ari Gold. He walks in with a bandolier and a paint gun and storms into the office and one by one begins murdering with the paintballs all of the people that he's going to fire. And it's a scene that goes on for, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. And oh my God, it is so funny. And then look at how crazy he is. And could you imagine somebody really doing that? I mean, no, not in 2024. I'm watching this and I'm going, holy fuck. There is no way. I don't care what platform you're on. Even Netflix would be like, yeah, we don't want that scene in here. Because people were running and screaming, and the actors, the extras, they were obviously told to behave as if somebody has just busted in with a real gun, run and act accordingly. And it was a funny scene if you could distance yourself from the world we live in now. Like, it's like, oh my God, he's chasing that old lady, that old secretary. And then you think, oh, wait a second, though. This is actually, it was dark. It took me out of that whole episode. I was like, wow, that is a wild scene that you could never do today. Busts into a business, an office, and just starts slaughtering people. And like preaching, and like giving them speeches before he kills them, in like real weird, I am Ari, I am God kind of way. I don't know. It's very scary. You couldn't do it today. The other thing that I learned in my little research about Entourage, and if you're familiar with the show, you might find this interesting. So I've always wondered, who is Vinny Chase, the character of Vinny Chase? Who is that character based on? Vinny Chase is a movie star in Entourage. He's a young Hollywood movie star. And the whole series is about him suddenly becoming a big movie star and bringing his buddies from the old neighborhood along for the ride. That's thus the Entourage. That is what the show is about. So Vinny Chase is the movie star. And I've always wondered, never really looked into it until this weekend. I'm like, who is he? What is Vinny Chase? Because I'm watching this and I'm watching his performance and I'm like, I don't really see him emulating any known Hollywood star, because I knew it was all based on stuff, because the show is executive produced by Mark Wahlberg, and it is literally the story of how Mark Wahlberg came to Hollywood. Entourage is Mark Wahlberg and his buddies. That, in fact, in the very first episode of Entourage, there's a great scene, a nice little Easter egg scene, where Vinny and his entourage, the entourage that we are watching, our heroes of this story, there is a scene where Vinny and his entourage are walking across, like, some studio lot. They're walking across the lot, and down the sidewalk comes Mark Wahlberg and his entourage. And it was a very interesting moment, because the entourage that is with Mark Wahlberg is the actual entourage that the show is based on. So I believe it's the first episode, and you get to see like the fictional entourage cross paths with the actual entourage. For instance, Michael Carroll is a name that you see very prominently displayed on every episode of Entourage. Like, executive producer Mike Carroll. And I'm like, who the fuck is Mike Carroll? Mike Carroll is the real turtle. That's the real turtle. The real E is this guy, Jason Levinson or whatever. Anyway. So the characters, the story, it's like, hey man, what a great story. We should make a TV show about what it was like when you first came out here, Mark. And that's the premise for the TV show. But the character of Vince, the lead actor, he's not Mark Wahlberg. He's not acting like, he's not behaving like Mark Wahlberg. He's not from Boston. He's from New York. So I found it interesting. I did a little research and I found out exactly who Vince is. And there are 3 parts of Vince. Okay. The character of Vince. Who is his lifestyle patterned after? Who is his personality patterned after? And who is his career path as we see unfold in the show Entourage? Who is that patterned after? And it's 3 very different actors, and it's interesting. For instance, okay, so the lifestyle of the girls and the boys and the booze and the jets and the Vegas and all of that stuff, the lifestyle is Mark Wahlberg. That was Mark Wahlberg and his boys' lifestyle. The personality of Vinny Chase is not Mark Wahlberg. The personality of Vinny Chase is Leonardo DiCaprio. Apparently, the way Vinny acts is the way Leonardo DiCaprio acts, whether it's in meetings or in conversation. That's how he is. Now that brings us to the career trajectory, because when you watch the career unfold of Vinny Chase in the show Entourage, you're like, he's got ups, he's got downs. He did an action picture here. He did an independent picture here. He did his career is based on Tobey Maguire. They took Tobey Maguire's career. Tobey Maguire had Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire had been discovered doing a bunch of indie films like Cider House Rules and all these other things. And then he got a superhero film, Spider-Man, and it became the biggest superhero film of all time. Well, that's the exact same thing with Vince's career trajectory. He goes from doing these independent films like Queens Boulevard and Hard to Hit or something, and then he takes Aquaman, and Aquaman becomes the biggest thing. Anyway, so it's Tobey Maguire as far as career, it is Leonardo DiCaprio as far as personality, and it is Mark Wahlberg as far as lifestyle. Thank you. Also, Vince is kind of a loser. Yeah, it's like Vince bothers me. Vince is like the least interesting character in the entire show. The most interesting characters in the show are Johnny Drama, Ari, and E. That's it. Not true. Also Lloyd. Yeah, I see. I'm looking at the chat room. I've addressed everything that's in the chat room. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I think we're done for the show for the day. I think that we have run afoul of anything interesting that I could possibly say. So I am out. The Stream of Consciousness is done. One more time. Thank you to Tracy D. Tracy D is our executive producer of today's show. She or he, I'm not sure. The last name throws me. Sorry. I'll figure that out before the next time. God, that sucks. I hate that. Thank you, Tracy D. They are our executive producer of today's show. If you want to be tomorrow's executive producer, drop a little something. I'll leave that up. Cash App, Venmo. That's how we move the show forward. We will be back tomorrow at noon for another live stream of all the day's hot topics, current events, headlines, and all of that stuff. I appreciate you hanging out with me. This Stream of Consciousness is now over.